Hi, this is Katrina Sargent, owner and creator of Devil Doll Custom Creations. Today we're going to be doing an Opal Epoxy Tumbler tutorial. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. Like always, everything will be linked in the description below, as well as my other beginners tutorials. Stay tuned to the very end. I will show you some things I've done with these Opal tumblers. So I started out with a prepped and sanded white skinny Hogg tumbler. I use Eileen's, tack it over and over again. I like my mixture 70 to 30 water. I mix it up in a little container and a tea strainer. You don't need a tea strainer at all. I just find it's easier to add the glitter. The glitter is Over the Rainbow by Feather Bear Bling. It is so gorgeous. And then you're going to want a large brush to apply the tacket. If you have pre-mixed it, you need to make sure it's completely stirred together before you apply it to your tumbler. It sometimes separates. And then I kind of just slather it on heavy-handed, and then I will go through and make sure it is completely smooth and that there's no big streaks of extra glue. Make sure there's no pooling at the bottom edge or the top rim. If you do not remove extra glue from the streaks or the pooling, it will not dry the same time as the rest of your glue, and you'll see that when you try to varnish your glitter later. You'll see a ridge, or it will completely remove your glitter when you try to rub it here in a little bit. When you're doing your bottoms, make sure you don't have any streaks there as well. I kind of just keep running my brush over my tumbler, wiping it off, the extra glue back into my container or on a baby wipe or paper towel. You're just trying to get a nice even coat. And then once it's fully covered, you can set this off to the side to fully dry for about 10 minutes, or you can speed the process up with a heat gun. If you use a heat gun, make sure you are constantly moving the heat gun and moving your tumbler, and it's on a low setting. You can burn this glue and it will bubble up and you won't be able to varnish your glitter as nice. This is just to speed up the process. Like I said, you don't have to do this. When your glue is fully dry, you're going to see it turns clear. When you add it on, it kind of looks white, and then it will look clear when it's dry. Once it is dry, it's going to be tacky, okay? So this is when you're going to then add your glitters. This is where the tea strainer comes in. I add a little bit to my tea strainer, and then I tap it onto my tumbler. I usually do the bottoms first and then work along the sides. You're going to want to get full coverage of the tumbler completely. Once you have full coverage, you're going to want to tap off any extra. You're going to want enough glitter that you have full coverage when you go to varnish, so all the glitter shifts and moves when you're rubbing your tumbler, but you don't want to waste too much. So if you have a whole lot of extra free glitter on there that if you don't tap it off, you won't be able to add it back to this container. Once you start varnishing, you can't add the glitter back to your first container because it could have chunks of glue or tackiness to it. I save that in another container and use it for keychains, etc., but not for varnishing these type of opal tumblers. When you're at the very top edge, if you turn your tumbler at an angle and tap it along that edge and it falls down, you won't have glitter fall into your tumbler. And then once you have it fully covered, I then take ungloved hand and I'm just going to then start rubbing the glitter onto that glue. The amount of tack it versus water is going to change if you can go harder or softer. Since I do more tack it than water, I can rub a little bit harder and the glitter will stay. I find it a little more sticky. You see how you have like a wet look where you've varnished versus where the glitter just set. This is what gives that beautiful color shift that we all love so much. This glitter from Feather Bear Bling is amazing. Once it is completely varnished, I then add CCDIY Quick Coat because the epoxy sometimes expels and you won't get a full coverage and you can get fish eyes and ripples in your epoxy without a sealant. If you do not have Quick Coat, you can use clear spray paint. You can use Mod Podge if you would like. Any kind of sealant that is going to be adding a barrier between this tack it varnished glitter and your epoxy. And you're just going to add a thin coat if you're using Quick Coat, and then you're going to let it dry. No matter what sealant you use, you need to let it dry fully. I let it turn for about 45 minutes to an hour before I move on to epoxy. The only epoxy I use is CCDIY Artist resin. It's a 2-part epoxy. I have my gloves on, I have my respirator on. If you're brand new, go watch my how to get a glass-like finish with epoxy video. It'll be linked in the description below. I go into detailed steps on how to epoxy. So these Opal tumblers are a gorgeous base for temporary tattoos. They are amazing under basic mandala tattoos. They are beautiful under my watercolor tattoo sleeves, which I will be making a video in the future, so stay tuned. Or you can just leave them straight opal. They are amazing. I hope everyone loved this tutorial, learned something new. Please like, share, subscribe, write in the comments. I do write back. And thank you everyone for your continued support.